The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you here November 2nd, 2020, the eve of the election. By the time you hear this recording, most of you hear this recording probably, I say tomorrow, it will be election day. And as I told you guys, I look forward to election day. I really enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't really follow this stuff like I do. And that's fine. You don't have to be like me. You know, I am me for a reason. I am a nerd that way for a reason. I just love politics. I love talking about politics, you know, bipartisan and all that. And this podcast is going to be pretty simple. This is give my prediction, what to look for, and whatnot. First off, this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, and of course, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I'm sure you guys know now, because I keep saying it, we are now on Amazon Music. Yes, we are. All right, so like I said, the election is actually, as it's recording, we're less than 24 hours away, because the early returns come in. The first set of returns come in at 7 o'clock. I believe I believe Kentucky or Indiana it gets returns earlier than that. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think they get the returns in at 6 or 6:30. We can get at the first batch of states at 7 o'clock. Georgia, Kentucky, Indiana, I think Maine. I believe. I'm not sure. Anyway, everybody. Everybody I talked to about the election, like today in the last couple of days, is some pins and needles. A lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are anxious on both sides. I've heard Trump supporters who are as brash as they are. Some of the ones I talked to, they're nervous as shit. Now some of them are cocky as shit too, saying that he's going to win a landslide and all this stuff. And hey, that's your opinion. We'll see if that bears out tomorrow night. I'm not going to argue with you about it because that could happen. I don't see it happening, a landslide certainly, but I definitely, I'm not counting Donald Trump out of this by a long shot. Despite the polls, and it's funny, the polls, it's just so much PTSD when you talk about the polls, and obviously a lot of PTSD on the Democratic side, especially after 2016 and Hillary Clinton's shocking loss to Trump. But a lot of factors came into that, and for the record, if you look at Hillary Clinton's poll numbers leading up to the election night in 2016, her polling graph throughout the entire process looked like a damn EKG. Like she'll poll 10 points, then she'll dip 8 points, and she'll go up another 6 points, and then she'll dip again because all these things coming out, whether it was the emails or the Comey investigation 11 days prior and all that. So, there's a lot of factors in there. And let's be real. She was very unlikable. I did say that had she got elected, I said this 4 years ago on this podcast, had she got elected 4 years ago, she would have been the most overqualified president ever because she served in the Senate, she's been a first lady, and all the Secretary of State, all that. But she didn't come off as likable. Now, on this podcast late last year, I did an episode, I think in late December, and I was saying to you guys how much, when Hillary Clinton went on the Howard Stern show late last year, and she's on there for 2.5 hours, and I actually took the time to listen to that entire interview. And that was the first time in my life I've ever heard her sound so genuine and open. And it was frustrating because I was like, why couldn't you be this? For 3 years prior, why couldn't you be open and honest? And the part of the reason why Donald Trump is so appealing to a lot of people, and granted, Donald Trump, say what you will. You may say he's a snake oilman, whatever you call it, but Donald Trump finds a way to make himself relatable to people, especially as a guy who's not even on that level. I mean, Donald Trump was pretty much born with a fucking spoon in his mouth. Let's be real. I mean, he was born with money in his mouth. Or in his hand. Or wherever you find money at. But yet, his sales pitch was, one of, hey, I'm like you. And people follow along. And then when you don't campaign in Wisconsin, you don't campaign in Michigan and states like that, and you take that for granted. And I've been critical of the Democratic Party also, too, in the last, quite a while now. Democrats have, in my opinion, gone away from the middle class, the working class, and catered to the elites in Hollywood, and that's why they're losing touch with voters. And Donald Trump saw that. That being said, like I said, election is tomorrow. It's going to be a fascinating night. I can't wait. I got the wings ready. I'm going to get some ice cream cake tomorrow, hopefully. I tell folks, people think I'm crazy. I treat election night like the Super Bowl. Like, I really look forward to this stuff. I say every 2 years, but the fact that even though the midterms are important also too, I don't treat it the same way as the presidential election because of the higher stakes. Although the stakes are, to be honest, those are both important. But I was convinced before COVID that Donald Trump was on the way to winning re-election. Won't say in a landslide, but he was definitely on the way to winning re-election within a comfortable level. I made that clear on the show late last year, even earlier this year. My conversations with Mark Francois and other people that coming on this show, I made it clear that I felt that Donald Trump, with the economy, ho-humming, and I always felt a lot too, like even with all the issues that Donald Trump may have had, he felt like Teflon. Like, yeah, the impeachment process, that didn't stick on him. The Mueller report, that didn't stick on him. It felt like he was able to get away and to figure things out and to be able to still be the free leader of the world. With all these accusations, which whether you may believe or disbelieve or not believe, I mean, that's up to you guys. I have my opinions, obviously, which doesn't really matter in the grander scheme. But COVID changed everything. And again, I'm not blaming the president for COVID-19. I'm not. But the handling of it has been very concerning, has been very, irresponsible, in my opinion. A lot of people share that belief, even people who supported the president 4 years ago, which is why you're seeing a lot of people break from Trump to Joe Biden. According to the polling, anyway. Like, we'll see. We're going to know tomorrow night. So, and that's that. And now he's having these rallies, these super spreader rallies. No one's masking up. Which I disagree with. I understand, not want to be locked down. I totally understand that. And I've been very clear about my position on how we should be handling COVID. Like, I'm not a fan of locking everything down because small businesses are getting destroyed. You got lives being destroyed, not even related to COVID, but to domestic violence and child abuse and depression and suicides. We got to consider that too. But when you're not taking responsible measures and you're having rallies, again, with enclosed crowds with no masks on, and you're the president of the United States, you're the leader, we look to you for direction, and you're not, you're saying that we need to move on and we need to be, no, that's problematic for me. Problematic for a lot of people too, and it's reflecting in the polls. I keep seeing the polls, because ultimately we're going to know the truth, whether those polls are correct. A lot of folks are very untrustworthy about the polls. Trump supporters think the polls are full of shit, and they have a right to feel that way because it happened 4 years ago. But might I remind folks that, first off, the polls in 2016 were not necessarily wrong. Hillary Clinton, going to election day, was favored to win the election by 3%. She won the popular vote by 2.4%. She had 3 million more votes than Donald Trump at the end of when it was all said and done. But the polls did not account for the battleground states, the swings. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those swung the election. Donald Trump pretty much won the election by 72,000 votes. Let's keep it real. He won the election by 72,000 votes. Okay? And now those same states, if you look at the polling now those same states, he's going to probably lose most, if not all of them, based on the polling. He's down big in Michigan right now. He's down fairly decent in Wisconsin. Pennsylvania is a bit of a question mark, although Biden's up slightly outside the margin of error. I still think Ohio goes to Trump. Honestly, I've been very stubborn about that. Although people are saying that's actually more in play than you realize. I wait till I see that. We'll see tomorrow. I'm a little more skeptical about that. But yeah, Joe Biden has benefited from this, not having to campaign as much because of the COVID, having to do smaller rallies, having to be able to not do so much because of COVID. You know, he survived the debates. Everybody thought that he would fall apart. And to be honest with you, I was saying all along, you know, the mistake the Trump campaign made leading up to the debates was setting the bar so low, calling him Sleepy Joe, and he can't, he can't speak complete sentences. So everybody had a low bar for Joe Biden going to the debates. And not only did Joe Biden actually hold his own in the debates. The first debate, you saw how disruptive, to say the least, how Donald Trump was. He even turned off a bunch of his own supporters as a result. You know, now he did better in the second debate. Second debate, he was a lot more, let's say presidential, whatever. He was much more clear, wasn't as rude. You know, but Joe Biden passed that mark. He passed the mark. He was able to sound coherent. You know, when again setting the bar low. So, what to look for tomorrow night? Clues. These elections really, honestly, come down to like 8, 9, 10 states. There's certain states you know it's going to go a certain way. You just know New York's going to go blue, California's going to go blue, Wyoming's going red. You know, Alabama's red, Mississippi's red, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Although there are more battleground states now in this election than there have been in a little while. You got Texas up for grabs, according to the polling. Arizona up for grabs for the first time. But Democrats have a very good shot of winning both the Senate seat and the presidency through Arizona for the first time since the 60s. Georgia's in play now for Democrats. So a lot of states are, and this is the thing about Trump. Where's his strength? Is he doing well? Can he win? Of course he can win an election, but the fact that there are 3 or 4 states that are not just toss-up states, but states that are typically ruby red, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, are now in play. Iowa are now in play for Joe Biden to actually not just be competitive, but to actually outright win is the biggest clue that there's deterioration around Donald Trump. Now, that being said, those 4 states, as I mentioned, I'm still very bullish on Biden winning Georgia. I'm going to give Trump Georgia still. Okay? I'm still going to give Trump Texas, although Texas is a state that, if not this year, in the next 2 to 4 years, will be a purple state, possibly even a blue state by the time it's all said and done. Texas's demographics is changing, just like Arizona's. Arizona, I'm going to give to Biden. I think there's a lot of people who hate Trump in Arizona now, not just cheating demographics, but even the John McCain Republicans can't stand Donald Trump. They're pissed off at Donald Trump for how he treated McCain before he passed away. So I'm giving Biden Arizona. Okay? Iowa, bullish on. Big Senate race up there too, especially. I'm going to give it to Trump. But yeah, Georgia's in play too, though. It's weird. Georgia's in play. It's strange, and I think the big clue you're looking for tomorrow night is that, as I said, Georgia is one of the first states to close polls. If Georgia is still counting votes, because typically Georgia is called fairly early, 8 o'clock, maybe even around 8, 9 o'clock. It depends. But if Georgia's not called before 9 o'clock, and they're still counting votes like close, past 9 o'clock, that's how you know Biden has a great chance to win that state. And if he does, that could be something that can trigger the rest of the country. Now, Florida. I'm very bullish on Florida. I hear Joe Biden is not performing very well among Hispanics and black males in South Florida especially. And that's important because the three counties where I live here, for the record, I live in Palm Beach County. So Palm Beach, Broward County, and Miami-Dade are all going to go blue, obviously. But Joe Biden needs to run up big margins to make up for the rest of the state that's red. Because the only other blue counties in the state of Florida outside those three are Tampa, Orlando, and Tallahassee. I believe Jacksonville also is, but who knows? But they need big margins. Hillary Clinton didn't have big margins in Miami in comparison, which is why she lost, because the other red counties were able to make up for it and win the election by 1%. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see if that works out. I got Trump winning in Florida, honestly. I was at one point I was confident about Biden, but I feel like a lot of these Republicans in here in South Florida are breaking for Trump last minute. And I'm gonna give Trump Florida. I think he wins Florida. North Carolina, and that's another big race there. There's a big Senate race there between Jamie Harrison and Lindsey Graham. I think that race actually impacts the presidential race, and I think Lindsey Graham is so disliked that I think it's why Trump might actually lose North Carolina. I think I'm going to give North Carolina to the Democrats, to Joe Biden. I think not only does Jamie Harrison win North Carolina, the Senate seat there, because Lindsey Graham is so unlikable, which way I can't stand the guy too. The guy is a hypocrite. I think that actually triggers Democratic turnout for not just Jamie Harrison, but also for Joe Biden. I think he'll put Joe Biden over the top. So I got North Carolina winning, going to Joe Biden. Now, the big state here, which is we're all saying here that the tipping state of this entire election is going to be Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was the state that actually put Trump over 270 in 2016. There's a lot of things going on there. Biden's leading the polls by about 5% right now, slightly over our outside margin area, but close enough just to make it a race. You also have news about voting, mail-in voting not being counted until 8 p.m. tomorrow night, election night rather, which is weird because Florida's doing theirs in the morning on election morning. So there could be some issues there. So if you're a Joe Biden supporter, you want Joe Biden to have a big lead to the point where you don't need Pennsylvania by 11 o'clock. But Pennsylvania is a state to look for. This is just some years you have Ohio is the biggest state to look at. Oh, obviously Florida is. This year it's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a very working class state. Typically a Democratic stronghold. Was prior to 2016 had won every election since 1988. Did Hillary blew it there? I'm still leaning Biden in that one, but I think the optics of how that plays out is where I'm a little more sketchy on. You know what I'm saying? I think Biden will hold on there. I don't think the fracking comments on the last debate really hurt him that much. I know I'm gonna give Biden Pennsylvania as well too, but I think I'm not too. The thing is, I'm not really entirely sure if he'll get that tomorrow night because of the optics of the voting and what's being counted, what's not being counted. We'll see. So you look at Georgia. One thing to look for is Georgia. You look at Georgia. If Georgia is still counting votes, or if Georgia somehow goes to Biden early, that's the biggest clue that Joe Biden might win this election. If Trump wins Florida, picks off a couple of the Midwest states, it's a race, and Arizona becomes even more and more important. I got Ohio going to Trump, like I said. Now, if Biden wins Ohio, then the Rust Belt, the blue wall is patched back up. We'll see. It's gonna be interesting because again, it's really down to 10 states. It really is. We can count Minnesota to some degree, but I think Minnesota's going to go blue still. Although that could be another state that Republicans could look at in the next couple of cycles. The next cycle, I'll probably be taking on the road. But the big thing for me is this: if Joe Biden has anywhere in the neighborhood between 210 and 225 electoral votes by 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, he'll be next president of the United States, because 11 o'clock, you're going to have another 67 votes come in off the bat. You're going to have California's 55. You're going to have Oregon's, I think, 12. And you're going to have Washington's 7. So there you go. I got Joe Biden winning the election with 306 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 200 and I think it was 31. I think out here. Let me see real quick. Yeah, I have 232 votes, 306 to 232 Biden over Trump. That's what I have predicted. So there you go. All right, folks, enjoy election night. Stay safe. No fighting. Love each other still. Even if you're voting against, even if your friends or family voting against somebody else, still respect each other. At the end of the day, it's only an election. And if you want to make change or create change, please vote. Vote tomorrow if you haven't voted yet. Okay? So there you go. Here's my prediction for tomorrow. Love you guys. Enjoy. And maybe tomorrow night I'll do a rapid reaction podcast on the election. So we'll see. Love you guys. Take care. And see ya. Thank you.